What do you want? Just tell me and I'll do it!
What do I want? I want you to notice. Why do I always have to say it?
Because I don't know what the hell you're talking about half the time. Maybe just tell me instead of nagging me every second of every day.
You think I want to fight with you? I just want you to notice me, but you're never here.
I'm here every day! What more do you want from me?
You're here physically, but I might just as well be living with a stranger.
You know what? I'm done. I'm going out.
Fine! Walk away! That's all you're good at!
And if this interaction hit a little bit closer to home that you'd like, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to talk about the 5 love languages, why they matter, and how they show up in our marriage.
Let's do this. You know, I feel like a lot of relationships break down not so much because people don't care enough, but because we each have our own way of expressing our love. And sometimes love languages just don't match.
I agree. I don't think that people fall out of love necessarily. I think it's more about unmet expectations and unfulfilled needs. You know how some people just love receiving texts and reels throughout the day? That's not them being crazy. It's just their way of knowing that you're thinking about them.
Yeah, although that's not me at all. All I want is a little order around the house and some alone time to recharge. I do like that you spam me with Labrador puppy videos every day, but what I really appreciate is when you do the dishes and handle the laundry.
You know, I low-key understand the text thing. I don't necessarily need my inbox flooded with messages and funny TikToks all the time, but sharing meaningful conversations with the people that I care about, that's what makes me happy. And because a lot of my close friends either don't live nearby or they're just busy with kids and work and life, when they do get a chance to sit down and chat with me for a while, that's what makes me feel seen. It's what makes me feel like I'm being cared for.
Dr. Gary Chapman talks a lot about this in his book, The 5 Love Languages. He's been a marriage counselor for 50 years and has noticed that people tend to express their love in one of 5 ways: words of affirmation, quality time, giving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. There definitely are variations within these main categories, but it seems that these general patterns hold up across genders and cultures.
So, according to Dr. Chapman, most people tend to gravitate towards a primary love language and maybe a secondary one. You know this. My main two, I would say, are words of encouragement and quality time. And the other ones, I can take it or leave it.
I'm a weird case though, because the way I feel valued is not the same as how I express my love, which further complicates things. We talk about it later. It's also worth mentioning that for most people, love languages exist on a spectrum. It's not an on or off kind of thing.
I think that the main challenge for all of us is to learn to bridge the gap between how we normally want to show our person love and how they want to be loved. It doesn't really do anybody any good if you bring her flowers every day when she would just rather you spend time with her so you guys can talk.
I feel personally attacked here.
For context, I tried to do the big romantic thing at one point in our marriage, and I bought her a big bouquet of flowers with different types and colorful ribbons, and she kind of looked at me like I was stupid and said, "Bro, you do realize these things die after a couple of days, right?"
Well, that's what makes love hard. It's counterintuitive. But I really do believe that love isn't about doing what comes naturally for us. It's about doing the work to learn about what our partners need to feel valued and then doing it.
So, the first one, words of affirmation. The first love language happens to be mine.
This love language is admittedly one that I didn't always understand. Verbal expression of love, praise, encouragement, and appreciation have never really clicked with me. But I can respect that a kind word can make your day, and that's enough for me.
For people that don't get it, it's kind of hard to explain. But this is how my mind works. Like, if I see you doing something that strikes me or impresses me or surprises me, I immediately get the impulse to tell you. And it's like the appreciation that I feel for you in that moment gets translated into words so that I can deliver the message of appreciation to you.
And that is something that I have had to learn. When I was working in production, I really didn't have the patience for people that wanted me to tell them they did well. My thought process was, you did what was expected, get over yourself and get back to work. And this is simply because I don't require praise or verbal encouragement. But over the years, I've realized that dismissing this need in others and even looking down on it isn't a sustainable way to build relationships. It alienates people, and I don't want you to feel like you're unimportant to me.
So, you know how I've been working with AI lately to animate my poetry? And whenever like a really cool illustration comes out of my tinkering, the first thing I want to do is to show you. And I know that for some, it could be tempting to look over, to nod, to smile, and then to get back to whatever they're doing. But I appreciate that you actually take the time to check out my stuff, but then also to comment on it. Because a lot of people will look, but they won't see, and that can create distance for people like myself.
Yeah, no, you can't just say something nice just to say it. It has to be specific and meaningful, right? And it has to be genuine. Good job doesn't actually mean anything. I've learned that it's important for me to express myself in a more elaborate way. I was actually looking through your Instagram earlier today when I saw that you posted your new illustrations. They are really getting good. I like the one where Macbeth and Lady Macbeth plot against the king. It's so dark.
I see what you're doing. And I have noticed that you've put in the work to communicate your feedback more elaborately over the years. Even when we go over our scripts and have a disagreement on a hook, even if I think it's great, you always lead with a compliment and then ask me if we can work together to fine tune the wording if it's something that you don't feel fits the bill. And the alternative will be for you to tell me that it's crap and that nobody's going to watch your video if you don't catch their attention in the first 3 seconds. It's the same basic message, but it's not the same.
This is just an educated guess, but I feel like this love language probably resonates most with people like you. People that love reading, are highly verbal, and who live a lot of their lives in their heads. I also suspect that these people are highly empathic, emotionally attuned, and maybe didn't get the encouragement they needed when they were young. Or they could also be high achievers that like to be acknowledged for their hard work and dedication.
I'd agree with that. The thing about our relationship is that even though I thrive on words of affirmation and encouragement, I know and understand and accept that you're a little bit more Spartan in the way you communicate than I am. But here's the catch, because you don't lavish words, you also don't use critical language to shank me where you know it hurts. You're always kind, constructive, and patient. And love languages aren't just about giving our loved ones what they need, they're also about not giving them what they don't.
You know, that is something I learned earlier on in my life. Vietnamese people aren't shy about expressing their displeasure in, shall we call them, colorful ways. It's really common for people to criticize, belittle, shame, and verbally punish each other. It doesn't matter if we're talking about teacher and students, parents and children, bosses and colleagues, husband and wives, it gets pretty bad. I've never liked being around critical, abrasive people, so I've been pretty good at developing this discipline to choose my words carefully, and even that took time and effort.
Oh, I get it. Trust me, I get it from both sides of the family. And a lot of the time, the yelling and the nagging and the verbal abuse, it's in public too. Like imagine being flailed alive by your boss in front of your colleagues.
And here's an actual example of how an aggressive, disrespectful, and demeaning exchange go. Trời ơi, mày ăn cái gì mà mày ngu dữ vậy? Cái chuyện như vậy mà cũng làm được á hả? Tao chưa từng thấy đứa nào mà ngu như mày á. Mày ngu hơn con bò nó. Tao nói thiệt, con bò nó thông minh hơn mày nữa đó.
This isn't a literal translation because it doesn't translate well to the English, but the spirit of what she said is contained herein. I can't quite get my head around how stupid you are. You have the intellectual capacity of a cow. Actually, that's an insult to the cow. What did your parents feed you to make it so you grew up to be this stupid?
Well, I may have exaggerated a little just to get the point across.
Not really, though. Like, people actually talk to each other like this. And I'm grateful that you never use that tone with me
Thanks, God.
because I don't do well with words content. I get angry and aloof.
Are you saying that I'm gonna be the one in charge of manning the comment session?
I said no thing. These are your suggestions and your suggestions alone. But that said, I did find this cute little reel when I was doing research for this video that expressed exactly what I mean when I say that the right word at the right time for the right person could make their entire day.
You know what I really love?
Me?
Yes, but you know what about you that I really love?
What?
I really, really love when you get some sun and your freckles come out. I think your freckles are the most beautiful little things.
I don't like my freckles.
No, seriously, you look so adorable with your freckles. I absolutely love it so much.
Come on, like, did you see her face? She lit up like a Christmas tree. Words for people like us are a big deal.
Words of affirmation can also come in the form of encouragement. Remember last year when you were finishing off your professional development certification so that you could start looking for better job opportunities? You were so stressed out about finishing your course and passing your exams early enough to start looking for work for the next school year.
Yeah, it wasn't even the stress of the exams. It was the timeline that was so tight. Having to pass my exams, having to get my licenses, submitting all my applications in time for the next school year. The idea of staying another 2 years at the previous workplace, that was what was really bothering me.
And I know that you don't go out of your way to ask for encouragement or appreciation. But I also know at the time that telling you I was proud of you and that I believed in you would help lift your spirits.
Sure did. Did you know that I still keep the little notes that you left for me over the years? Things like this, even though it sounds kind of silly, they mean a lot to me. So even when I get emails or notes from my old students, I put them all in a little box as keepsakes. If I had to guess as to why I do it, I think it's because it reminds me that I'm doing a little bit of good in the world.
Yeah, at the end of the day, words are important. Maybe not to me, but definitely to you. So, whatever, it's on me to go outside of my comfort zone and use them as a tool to make your days just a little better.
Which brings us to love language number 2, quality time. Quality time is about unfocused and undivided attention. Basically, these are the people that want to do together all the time, which is fun when you first start dating, but it gets pretty old pretty quick once the dust settles under the great open skies of routine.
I think that it would be really challenging for us to be in a relationship with someone that places a massive premium on doing things as a couple. Being with someone that simply hates being alone and who doesn't understand our need to sit in the comfort of our privacy for a while would 100% cause a huge amount of tension.
And look, there's nothing wrong with being somebody that values quality time, but it's more that some love languages are more difficult for certain people to adapt to. And to be fair, our tendency to want to do things alone a lot of the time could very easily come across as big, bold, capitalized letters spelling out, "You are not my priority. I have better things to do with my life than to hang out with you. Leave me alone. You are not wanted."
Well, totally not our thing, but it is true that some people feel valued when they know that they have an irreplaceable spot in your schedule. Here's a reel I found that showcases just how important quality time is. Let's see it.
Canceling a boy's night to see
Hey,
my
man.
girlfriend
How you doing?
reaction.
Bro, just wanted to tell you I want to cancel tonight. I won't be able to make it. Just want to spend some time with Carrie tonight. Yeah, of course. Nah, I'm sorry, bro. I know it's very last minute, but she has been working really hard since morning. Yeah, nah, she cooked really good lunch this afternoon and we had such a great time, so I just wanted to give a night as well, so that the whole day to her, right? Yeah, I understand, bro. Nah, I can tell you guys gonna have a lot of fun. It's okay. Nothing, we're just gonna chill at home, maybe eat some ice cream, she will bake some chips. Yeah. And actually she has chosen a movie as well. Yeah, she told me what she wanna watch. Yeah. Alright, mate. Have fun. Ciao, ciao.
What do you want to eat? Huh? What do you want to eat? I'll cook you anything.
It probably goes without saying that this video is scripted, but at the same time, her reaction truly seems genuine. And even if it wasn't, it wouldn't have gone viral if it hadn't struck a nerve with the audience. People that value quality time will break out in a spontaneous happy dance if their person makes the decision to cancel their plan to spend more time with them.
This actually reminds me of your friend and how he get annoyed about having to take his girlfriend joyriding on the weekends. For context, this is a very Vietnamese thing. We just take our motorbikes and go for a drive to the city center or just around the city, especially during holidays. Families do this, couples do this, it's just our thing.
Yeah, to him it was pointless. There was absolutely no good reason in his mind for them to get on the bike and drive aimlessly around the same neighborhoods and the same streets and the same districts every week.
But the thing is that to her, it was never about a ride, right? It was about doing something together. It was about being close to one another on that cramped little bike seat. She didn't want to do fancy, extravagant things. She just wanted to be out and about with him, just the two of them.
And I get why he'd be annoyed, because I've been there too. But at the same time, why don't you just want to do the things that you know makes your partner happy? And I kind of had to tell him point blank that he was being a bit of an ass. And to look at the situation for what it was, He had a loving girlfriend that simply wanted to be by his side, didn't care about expensive gifts, and that just wanted to enjoy his company with no hidden agendas.
Yeah, it usually doesn't take a lot to make your special person happy. We just have to learn how to see things from their perspective and then act on it. It's a lot simpler than people think, and yet so many struggle with it.
Yeah, but I think there's another dimension to the problem that has to be explored. It's one thing to be fluent in your partner's language, it's another to avoid using their love language in a way that expresses contempt. So let's say that he did agree begrudgingly to take her joyriding every weekend, but every time that they were about to leave, he'd roll his eyes and complain about the traffic and the heat and the pollution and just personify the attitude that he'd rather walk into oncoming traffic than to take her out. Technically, you're speaking the love language, but you're not doing it in a very loving way.
He basically would have communicated to her that one, this is stupid. Two, what you like is stupid. Three, I'm only doing this stupid thing because I have to. Four, and I'm going to make sure you know how annoyed and miserable I am about being forced into doing this stupid thing again.
Right. Do this over the months and the years, and you'll find yourself spiraling into the miserable cycle of you never take me anywhere and you don't appreciate anything I do.
It's also worth noting that quality time is different for different people. You like long, meaningful conversations, while I'm quite a woman of few words. One of our friends, who shall remain nameless, like staying in and playing board games. I wonder what happens when you have two quality time people that like doing wildly different things. Like one wants to spend every weekend going hiking, while the other only wants to stay at home and bake. Let us know in the comment if you've come across this before.
I wonder if people who value quality time struggle in our social media driven world. Everywhere we go, we see people that are glued to their screens all the time. And people are so quick to bail on plans at the last minute these days, too. I feel like these kinds of things would make the quality time people feel like they don't matter or they're not valued.
I think it's important for all of us to remember to take a break from the internet. Sometimes we are pretty bad at this too. It's great that we are both independent, but I do notice that our screen times are kind of ridiculous.
But we're YouTubers, that's what we do.
Stop making excuses.
All right. Let us know in the comments if quality time is your love language.
This brings us to love language number 3, giving and receiving gifts. Gift giving completely resonates with me. It is such a simple way to express to someone that you were thinking about them. These are the people that typically hold on to and treasure the little gifts and mementos that they receive over the years.
Totally my mom's thing. She loves planning surprises and using her hands to make people unique and customized gifts. I remember when I was still in college, she would wait for all of us to go to bed and then take out 20 years worth of photographs for the whole family. And she spent hours every night categorizing them according to age until she managed to finish all of our individual albums for myself, my two sisters, my dad. It took her months and nobody knew anything about it until she actually unveiled these for us at Christmas time.
That is so sweet. But if you're not good at making things, gifts can still play an important role in how you express your love to those around you. For me, if I'm out shopping and see something that I think someone I care about will like or need, I will get it for them. It's my way of showing that they're in my thoughts. My brain doesn't naturally go, I'm thinking of the person, let me come up with something nice or supportive to say. It goes, hey, this is something the person needs. Let me buy it for them because I know it will make them smile.
Yeah, that's very you. I struggle with giving gifts because it just doesn't enter my mind. It's actually a bit of an issue. Even when we went to your parents' place the other day to celebrate the Lunar New Year, like my brain doesn't compute. It doesn't translate my affection into the thought of going out and buying them something as a token of appreciation. And honestly, I'm super glad that number one, you pick up the slack, and number two, you don't make me feel like an idiot because I always forget.
I think there are a couple of factors that could explain this. Firstly, you never expect anyone to get you anything ever, partly because watches and clothes aside, you're just not a very materialistic person. And partly, it's because in the rare instances that you do want something, you go and buy it yourself. I also think that you don't like getting people gifts because you don't like having to guess what they might want, like, or need.
You know, I've never really thought about that before. I automatically look at it from the perspective that if someone went out of their way to buy me a nice gift, which I ultimately didn't like, it will make them feel terrible. So I would rather show them that I care by being there for them or buying them something that they specifically told me that they could use.
In your defense, buying you gifts is next to impossible. The stuff you like is so specific to you that no amount of research would ever get me closer to knowing what you like for your birthday. So the next time you want to get a suit made, we'll go to the tailor and you pick out the style, the fabric, the lining, the buttons, and the accents, and I'll get you exactly that.
You know, the funny thing is that you like giving gifts, but you don't really care too much about receiving them.
Yes, strange. I'd rather you help me keep the house clean and spend time together, but I do like buying you stuff, so just let me do that.
You know, unless it's something that I'm actively budgeting for, I don't remember to buy anything for myself too. It's unless it's a life or death emergency, I will postpone buying things for months and months and months and months. But I do appreciate that you pick up the slack there too, and you buy me phone cases and shoe trees and my driving gloves and headphones and basically everything else that I need to function like a human being. You also went through a phase of buying me different lunch boxes that I could take to work with me. There was a one that looked like a little bento box with all the little compartments for the different dishes, which once it was delivered, we found out that it was too big for my bag. And then you ended up finding a cute little blue one with the automatic function of reheating the food.
That was my big success. I mean, I just wanted you to have a hot meal every day. I might not always tell you how I feel, but I try to show you.
But to be fair, I do feel that a good gift is a reflection of how well you know a person. Because if you take the time to really pay attention, you'll notice immediately if somebody values gifts, and more importantly, what kinds of gifts they like to receive. And admittedly, I'm trash at this whole gift giving thing, but if you were the kind of person that loved receiving frequent little gifts like your favorite flowers or your favorite snacks or your favorite scented candles, I'd have to resort to putting this into my phone just so that I could remember, just so that I could do it. And I do it with a smile. And I honestly don't think it's even about the gift. It's about the person receiving the gift, knowing that you notice the things that make them happy.
I feel like this applies to big gifts too, though. Maybe it's concert tickets to their favorite band, which then opens up an opportunity to plan out something special in advance to really wow them. Or if they're really into barbecuing, a little research on YouTube can give you a good idea of what kinds of cooking accessories they might like.
100%. I think it's also important for us to remember that we have to put our ego aside when we buy a gift because it's not about what we want to buy for them, it's what they want to receive. An expensive gift that doesn't take into account their likes, wants, and needs doesn't mean anything. And if it leaves them feeling cold, that opens up the can of worms of you feeling unappreciated and all sorts of other dramas going to ensue. Not worth it.
I completely get why some people get so excited about planning elaborate gifts. And surprises though, it's all about the look on their face when they open a gift and it's exactly what they've been wanting for a long time. It's really sweet to see, huh?
And for the people like me that don't really care about giving or receiving gifts, it's important to remember that most of the effort behind the gift often takes place behind the scenes, which is probably why, for me, it's easy to overlook. It might have taken months of saving for someone to buy that big screen TV or that new laptop. And let's not forget that people will spend hours and hours and hours doing research about the brands and the models and the accompanying accessories. Like it takes a lot of work to think of a really good gifts, and it's something that's worth being aware of and remembering.
Like you said, it's really just about making the effort to take notice of what your partner needs. If they're always finding little ways to surprise you with small gifts, or even big gifts for that matter, chances are they like the same in return.
And this brings us to love language number 4, acts of service, which is all you. You don't care about fancy gifts or kind words. You just want to know that I've got your back by helping you keep our living space clean and clutter free, which, as you know, has always been something that didn't come naturally to me. You can ask my mom about that. I did not help her around the house unless it was under the explicit threat of physical violence.
Well, you've got better over the years though. You now know that if I'm feeling overwhelmed by work, stepping in and handling the dinner duties or doing the laundry makes me feel like you're aware of how I'm feeling and how to help me.
Admittedly, this took a while for me to integrate into my daily habits because I've always been a little bit of a mess. So even the idea of doing chores as an expression of love just didn't make sense to me. It just didn't click. And looking back, all the times that I'd tell my mom that I'd help around the house and then I would just bail, I can see why it made her feel as if I didn't really care that much. It wasn't about the vacuuming or cleaning the windows or cleaning the shower. She just wanted me to notice that she was tired and that she could have really used a little bit of a break. And I look back on it now and I really could have made more of an effort to take just a little bit of the load off of her shoulders. And knowing that I didn't, it sucks.
Well, better late than never. But acts of service doesn't always mean having to clean the house or mow the lawn. Before we got our Nespresso machine, you always left a cup of coffee for me in the fridge before you left for work. It was one of many little things that made me think that you were thinking of me, even as you were getting ready for a busy day. I even wrote a song about it. You guys should go check it out.
I hate to sound repetitive, but each love language is just a way for people to express their love to one another. If I make coffee and or breakfast for the family every morning, it's because I want everybody to feel fully fueled for the day ahead. My mom was all about this when I was in high school. She'd always buy me my favorite almond croissants and would always leave a cup of coffee for me ready to go so that I could sleep in an extra 20 minutes.
Little things like running errands that your partner doesn't like running, volunteering to watch the kids so that they can have some downtime, taking the car to get serviced, taking care of them when they're sick. These are all things that explicitly communicate care, even though they might not be particularly romantic.
The whole taking care of each other when we're sick is a big one for you. Both when I get sick and you immediately go to the pharmacy to get me medicine and stuff, but also when you were going through a weird phase when you were experiencing vertigo all the time and you were feeling terrible. And there was one specific episode where you wanted me to take you to the hospital, and I was stressing out about an exam that I had to take. And I was very tempted to stay at home. And then I saw the look of disappointment in your face and knew that I'd messed up in that instant. I ended up taking you, but I felt like an idiot for hesitating.
Yeah, that was one of the very few times that I felt like you didn't come through for me. But these are the moments that we can choose to learn from. You know now the ways in which I want you to be there for me, and that's what important. I could have made you feel bad about it. I could have used critical language. I could have even said really hurtful things like, "What kind of man lets his wife go to the hospital alone?" But then both of us would have been left wounded and angry.
And this is what makes relationships tricky. We always have to be mindful of the needs of our partners, even if they clash with our own. Both people have to always want to do what's best for one another.
Yeah, it's never about me, it's always about us.
I feel like this love language is both the easiest and also the hardest one to successfully learn if you're not a super clean and orderly person. Easy because if your partner has a particular thing they'd like taken care of around the house, they'll tell you in no uncertain terms. Hard because they might get frustrated that this stuff just doesn't naturally occur. And then they might express themselves in a negative or hurtful way, which ironically will make you not want to do any of these things out of spite. And I don't know about you, but expressions like, "this isn't a hotel and you never do anything to help me out," generally don't get me in a cleany kind of mood.
I like a clean and organized home environment, but I do understand that after a long workday or during the weekend, for most people, the thought of cleaning the windows is about as exciting as getting a root canal. But if person A can't relax until the house is clean, and person B is tired and promises to wash the windows tomorrow, but person A wants them clean now, and person B either does it badly or procrastinates until person A ends up doing it themselves, it's not hard to see why things could get quickly out of hand. And on this merry-go-round of anger and resentment goes. I think this where it's important to sit down and agree on some sort of schedule that takes everyone's needs into account. Comment below if you are person A or person B.
My mom is person A and I'm person B. Okay, I wouldn't say that you're a super neat freak, but if you were a part of the cast of Friends, you'd definitely be Monica. At least some of the time, because you
With
get
Anna.
like you get in weird moods every now and then when you get fed up with my little messes, and then you start angrily cleaning and organizing stuff like at 11 at night.
Or 7 a.m.
But I'm glad that you're not the kind of person that just turns spring cleaning into a family event because I'd be forced to participate and I would hate every second of it.
It's definitely worth keeping an eye out for these kinds of thing. It's hard to be on the same page about this kind of stuff. But that said, if someone that is naturally messy makes an effort to clean in a way that gets person A's stamp of approval, that's a sure sign that they care.
And this brings us to the final love language, physical touch. These are the friends of the touchy-feely persuasion. They're all about the little everyday physical gestures that convey love and connection. You know, a hand on the shoulder, a warm hug when they get home from work, sitting a little closer together on the couch, or even a little butt pinch here and there.
Yeah, some people definitely prioritize physical touch as an expression of love. I'm not really touchy feely, so if I'm trying to console a friend that is going through a hard time, I'll be more likely to listen to them, break down the situation, and give them some constructive advices. I wouldn't instinctively give them a hug because it doesn't seem to be like a pragmatic way to help them move past the problem.
That's the most Tao thing I've ever heard in my life. I think that it's more about them feeling your presence through physical contact than it is anything else. Like, have you ever felt alone in a relationship, even if you're with them all the time? They're just not there emotionally, and it feels like there's this gulf between you. I think love languages are the keys to bridging that distance, and some people just want to have the reassurance of a physical gesture to feel like you're there.
I like how you phrase that. It's not necessarily about being together, it's about feeling the connection. So, for you, do you feel connected when someone, for instance, reads one of your poems, give you feedback, and then engages you in a long conversation about your writing process, inspirations, and literary ambitions?
I mean, if you phrase it like that, yes, that's how I feel valued. I don't need anybody to give me a hug, but I do thrive when we connect intellectually. And I think it's because we live in a world where conversation has really largely been replaced by small talk and ghosting and memes. So when somebody takes the time to engage with me, that's when I feel like I'm being valued. But back to physical touch, I know that you're not likely to hold somebody if they're feeling down, but in a slightly different context, I would say that this is another one of your half love languages. And you're not like this all the time. But once or twice a day, you'll suddenly get the urge to swarm me when I'm on the couch so you can recharge your cuddle battery. And like 13 seconds later, you just go off and do your thing again.
I don't know, I'm just a weird case. But some people just don't like being touched, and this could be a difficult obstacle to get over for someone that values physical affection. If these needs aren't expressed in a clear and honest way, the cuddlier partner might interpret the physical distance as rejection, right?
Yeah. But that being said, this love language, I feel, is probably one that could be most easily integrated into a sustainable routine for most people. Little things like greeting each other with a hug, giving one another a shoulder rub, randomly pulling one another into a warm embrace, or even just holding hands when you're going out on a walk. All these little things can make a huge difference and they don't cost that much to do? That being said, this love language I feel is probably the easiest one to integrate into a sustainable routine for most people. It doesn't take a lot. It's just little things like greeting each other with a hug, taking the time to give one another a random shoulder rub, pulling each other into a warm embrace, or even just holding hands when you're walking around town. All these little things could make a huge difference and they don't cost a lot of effort. But this brings us to the crux of the matter. Why is it so hard to speak your person's love language?
Honestly, it's for the same reason why we don't all speak all foreign languages we haven't learned. The thing about love is that it's not automatic. Attraction might be, but love is an attitude we have to cultivate. It requires deliberate and consistent action that more often than not goes against our instincts.
Yeah, that's true. Something that I've noticed is that none of this stuff actually matters in the initial stages of a relationship. Because when you fall in love, the obsession takes over and you can't stop thinking about the person and you get sucked into this vortex of rainbows and sunshine and unicorn magic and everything is awesome. But here's the thing, when you're so hopelessly hopped up on dopamine and oxytocin, you don't actually have to put any effort into doing nice things for your person. You just dial all the love languages up to 12 all of the time. The endless texting until the early hours of the morning, the never ending cuddles and kisses, the nonstop conversations, all of the date nights. I hate to break it to people, but that's not actually love. That's the precursor to love at best, and that's only if both people are compatible, committed, and willing to learn about each other's needs.
Exactly. All of this raging emotion eventually fizzled out in a matter of months, and then we have to come to grips with the realization that all the cute little things that used to make our special person, well, special, are now actually unbelievably annoying.
Right, so why did she go from affectionate and cuddly to clingy and annoying? And why did he go from sophisticated and smart to boring and long winded? And why did she go from caring and loving to jealous and possessive? And why did he go from strong and dependable to distant and unavailable?
I honestly think that a lot of problems could be solved if we took the time to really think about what our partners would like us to do for them. And yes, Maybe they're expressing themselves in ways that we may not like, but at the core of the issue lay unmet emotional needs. If she complains about the mess around the house, help her out. And when he does, give him a hug or a nice word. Don't get mad at him for not cleaning better. And if he complains that you don't appreciate anything he ever does, then take the time to remind him that you love what you love most about him. And then thank her by taking her out to dinner, not by leaving the socks around the house.
I will say this on that note. A lot of problems would be resolved if we would all just stop saying stuff like, if you really loved me, you just do it. I think we all have to do a better job of learning how to properly communicate our wants and our needs to each other in a straightforward and clear way. And I get how frustrating it could be if you're not getting what you need from your partner, but disregarding and invalidating the things that they are doing right is really hurtful.
I think that even when the intentions are good, love languages are tricky because people are different. They have different personalities, different family backgrounds, different social cultural upbringing. These factors shape what feels natural to us and what doesn't. And if what comes natural to you isn't something that registers with your person, it's important to find a way to bridge that gap.
Sometimes it goes beyond that, though. Some people just have a natural aversion to certain love languages, and it's not deliberate. Someone who's competitive and argumentative, self motivated, and who always wants to be right, they might see words of affirmation as stupid. They might care more about the quality of the results and not the effort. And most importantly, they may actually look down on the idea of having to compliment somebody for doing their job.
They might even see their critical feedback as a way to help their partner grow. But for someone who thrives on words of affirmation, it may feel like a constant reminder of what they're doing wrong instead of
Mm.
appreciation of their efforts. That disconnect can hurt deeply.
And once again, at the risk of sounding repetitive, it's not about us as individuals, it's about us as a family. Both parties have to want to make the other person feel loved. And the effort has to be genuine. You can't just buy gifts or do chores to avoid punishment or to check a little box. You have to cultivate the attitude of wanting to do these things because you know it makes their lives better.
Cultural factors can also make it difficult. You know as well as I do that in Vietnam, women have traditionally been expected to handle the cooking, cleaning, and childcare. Even if they work full time, even if they're the breadwinner of the family, it's just how it is. So when guys start dating or get married, it almost never crosses their minds to help out at home. And when they're called out for it, the reaction is often something along the lines of, isn't that your job? And I'm not saying that every man is like that, but that's still a massive thing here.
Look, I get it. And I think that most of us can agree that doing chores is not fun. But here's another way to look at it. I can get over myself and choose to do, on occasion, things that I don't really like doing, or I can let my marriage slip into the abyss of misery. Those are literally the only choices that we have.
And when things start to move in a negative direction, sometimes people will weaponize a love language out of anger or spite. Given someone who values quality time, the cold shoulder is like taking away their air. And it seems petty, but just stop to think how common this form of emotional punishment is, or think about how devastating comparison can be to someone who values words of affirmation.
Yeah, that sucks. It's important not to use your person's love language against them. I also feel that sometimes people simply don't have the skills needed to cater to their person's emotional needs. Like someone that's been hurt in the past or that has difficulties trusting others, they might just not know how to open up and be emotionally vulnerable with a partner that just wants to connect.
Then there are the blind spots, things we just don't think about. If a particular love language isn't important to you, it's easy to overlook. Like you and your tendency to overlook the idea of giving gifts as a demonstration of affection.
Yeah. All right, so what do we actually do about this? I think, like for most things, it starts with all parties sitting down and really taking the time to assess their needs and then communicating them in a clear, concise, and most importantly, kind way. I think too often people fall in love and then hope for the best. But people really have to take the time to dig deep and find the answers to questions like, what are your needs? What is missing in your relationship? What has made you feel alone, rejected, and unloved in previous relationships? What makes you feel safe? What specific things does your partner do to make you feel valued? And what specific things does your partner do to make you feel unappreciated?
I I can see how trying to have these discussions could be uncomfortable though, especially if two people have been together for a long time and have never really established the right kinds of habits. If one or both people are struggling with deeply rooted feelings of bitterness, contempt, and frustration, it may take a while to get back on the same page. But the alternative is that the problem continues to go unresolved and things continue to get worse.
It really boils down to figuring out what you're supposed to do so you can start doing it. And if it doesn't come naturally to send texts or to buy little gifts, then set reminders on your phone so you remember. And maybe it's not the most romantic thing in the world, but it is a practical way to get started so you can develop good habits.
The important thing is to take note and execute, even when we don't feel like it, even when we don't understand it, especially if we don't understand it. Too many people rely on their tendencies and their instincts. But here's the problem: if people don't find the love they're looking for at home, they'll often look for it somewhere else, with friends, in an online community, in a running club, at yoga class, and the worst case scenario, in the arms of someone else.
At the end of the day, when you really break it down to its bare bones, love really isn't that complicated. I'm not saying that it's easy, but as long as we're willing to make the daily micro improvements needed to take care of one another's needs, it's really a simple matter of routinizing the habits that you know are going to make your person feel like they matter.
So, what is your primary love language and how you and your partner navigate the difference? Leave your comment below. And don't forget to give this video a like, share if you think that someone might benefit from it, and subscribe to our channel for more insights on relationships and personal growth. Also, this is a video we posted on 7 areas of compatibility that you might want to check out. Thank you for watching this video and see you next time. Bye!